Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we're discussing a 2014 model year limited edition of 200 pieces in white gold. This is the Jaeger-LeCoultre Duometre Quantieme Lunaire Grand Feu with Grand Feu Enamel dial. This watch features the domed bezel variant of the Duometre case in 40.5 millimeters. The 40.5 is smaller than the traditional 42, and it wears a little bit more compact, perhaps a bit more appropriate for a dress-style timepiece. The watch is 13.6 millimeters thick, and from lug tip to lug tip, 48.9 millimeters with a traditional 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Zoom out a little bit, and we'll throw this watch on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference. Now, I wore the original 42 millimeter Duometre in white gold, and that was the chronograph model, and I thought that was fine. But it is large for a dress watch. This is a little bit more compact. The 40.5 millimeter case came out in 2012, and this variant wears it well. The timepiece is handsome, relatively flat flush, suitable for a dress cuff, and I would say in this size wears well on a wrist down to 14 centimeters circumference. It really is a good looking and versatile timepiece, and a lot of folks are going to find the size more approachable than the original Duometre. Taking a quick look at the strap, you can see it is medium rectangular scale alligator leather, semi-gloss, a little bit lighter than navy. It's not quite navy, more like a cobalt blue with a monotone stitch, and you can see folded edge with some bolstering to give it some thickness. There's calfskin on the underside. It is a brand new JLC factory strap, and you can see that it uses pull tab spring bars. You can quickly and easily remove the strap from the case without a tool. The buckle is a combination of polish and satin, and you can see it is a JL logo. It is matching white gold. Rolling back to the case, the Duometre case is a beautiful thing. The lugs are welded on, which is an old school and expensive way of making a case. You can see how the lugs are stepped out from the case band, and then there's double finish with satin on the case band and polish on the lugs. That's achieved by fashioning the lugs separately from the case, inserting them into slots in the case, welding the two together, removing all evidence of the weld, and then double finishing in a contrasting satin polish finish. You can see that the pusher for the radial date indicator, that's actually a combination of satin and polish, so the attention to detail is excellent. And we roll over to the crown side where you can see there's a media blasted center to the crown, but then a raised, relieved, and polished JL logo with a wonderfully tactile double knurling on the crown. The crown is a pleasure to use. The dial has a lot going on. As you can see, it is a Grand Feu enamel dial, so on a white gold base, up to 12 applications of vitreous glass-based paint are applied, and then it's fired up to 20 times at 800 degrees centigrade to create this porcelain-like dial that will not oxidize, will not tarnish, will not react to moisture. As with vintage pocket watches from the Valet de Jeu, the Grand Feu enamel dial, which is expensive and difficult to make, allows this watch to essentially defy time because it does not show the ravages of age. Now we have a pusher adjuster for the radial date. You can see how I'm able to step the date. The date's coaxial with a moon phase display. We have a foudroyant, or a 1/6 of a second lightning seconds hand, and then we have a central seconds display. So we have our hours, minutes, seconds, then sixths of seconds. The watch, of course, includes caliber 381. You can see the name of the movement right there on the base of the dial, and it has a fascinating zero reset system. So I pull the crown out, and you can see how it stops the foudroyant up at the index, or 0. Now I pull the crown the rest of the way, and a heart cam, like a chronograph reset, falls and zeroes out the display. So it's 0 seconds and 0 sixths of seconds. So I can set this watch very, very precisely. You'll note that at the same time, the balance continues to operate, so there's no loss of balance amplitude. This is a brilliant system that allows the watch to immediately begin keeping time at its standard rate rather than stopping and having to rebuild the momentum and the amplitude of the balance. That achieves excellent chronometry. You can set it precisely, and there's no loss of balance, momentum, or amplitude. Normally, you might lose fractions of a second or even entire seconds as your hacked and supposedly synchronized movement gets back up to speed. Now, we have two power reserve indicators, and you wind them by turning the crown in different directions. You could see pocket watch style ratchets on the barrel. This watch is designed after a Valet de Jeu pocket watch in the JLC Heritage Gallery. It was movement from the 1800s, 1880s, I believe, with a Victorin Piguet, a Bausch. And so this watch is based off that watch in the JLC Heritage Gallery. So you have two separate drivetrains. By turning the crown in different directions, you wind one ratchets while the other winds. You can see limited edition numbering out at 200, and you can see that those power reserve indicators have advanced towards full. So 50 hours of power reserve. You cannot overwind it. It has a slipping mainspring system, so it's a very clever watch. The timepiece also features two separate powertrains. It's called a dual wing movement. So one powertrain and one barrel solely operates the balance, and you will not see much variation in balance amplitude because the timing organ has its own power supply. Now, the other barrel operates everything else: the date, the moon phase, the time, the foudroyant. So you don't lose balance amplitude just because you have all of these subsidiary displays in operation. The movement is built a little bit like a longa. As you can see, it's that German silver material, nickel, copper, zinc for the bridges and plates. It has the golden hue because of the copper. In the French-speaking watchmaking regions, they call this maillot, and it is not German silver, nor does it contain any actual silver. It's a bit of a misnomer. You can see the parts that are steel, like the barrels and the screws and the cap to the regulator. All of this in silver has been satinated, and it's stainless steel, and as you can see, it's beautifully finished. You can even see that the edges of the cap to the regulator have been beveled and polished with anglage, and then we have mirrored anglage on the edge of every bridge. We also have this lovely Côte de Soleil or sunburst waves radiating out from an imaginary center point to top the balance. The balance beats away at 21,600 vibrations per hour, and it's free sprung for durability. And of course, all of this is handmade and hand finished. This is the best finished JLC model line, the Duometre, for under $100,000. Frankly, it looks like it's $100,000 or even $200,000 watch, and it's finished to a much higher standard than other JLC sub 100K movements. You can see that they're also a combination of black polished and fired blued screws, and they are real fired blued screws. You can see satination on the wheels, and then there's engine turning in two different sizes on the base plate. If you look at the center wheel, you can actually see that hammer that falls on the heart cam to reset the system. All of this surprisingly water resistant to 50 meters for a dress watch. That's out of this world, but JLC does deliver more. The watch is also guaranteed to run no worse from the factory than -6 plus 1 second per day, so the tolerances are exceptional. This watch, whose goal is actually chronometry, achieves that goal remarkably. Reach out to Tim Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.